Greetings to one and all. I've been doing a lot of retelling tales lately to a few friends, and I put up the alchemical or the chemical wedding I put up yesterday, which is a very strange, esoteric alchemical tale. And people were wondering, well, why did I put that up? And I just thought it was just an interesting tale to explain of how in olden days these are the kinds of stories that the mystery schools or learned people be working with. Obviously this was the Christian Rosencreutz one, which went on to become obviously known now as the Rosicrucians. Some people poo-poo them. I quite like what they have to say. Quite a few of their books. Sometimes I go to their meetings. I'm not a Rosicrucian myself, not a paid up initiated member as such, but I like their stories. Which got me thinking, well, what does Gurdjieff say about stories? He's obviously telling us stories in his Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson. And he's trying to teach us to find right knowledge so that we can turn it into the right type of wisdom. You know, subjective knowledge, objective knowledge. What is it that we're trying to attain to? And in the everyday rat race of the life that we're going through, we're seeing just mundane knowledge, I'm going to call it, that tries to make us feel like we're wise people as we, keep up with the Joneses and do what we're told to do, and get the career job that we need and have the partner that we should have and the 2.4 children, blah 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 blah. And it doesn't fit everyone. There's outsiders and those that want to do other things and be part of the collective order, the herd mentality. And these esoteric writings and stories were there to help people like ourselves to understand we can be like that. It doesn't matter if we're different from everybody else and if we're not part of the norm. Norm as in what the sheep call normal. Our normal is a very different normal. Our normal is attaining to higher knowledge, ancient wisdom, and for development of our own selves and to be part of the harmonious development of the universe. And I've done series on Thoth or Jehuti, depending on what you'd like to call him. Praise be to I, Lord Thoth. And the towels of his, there's many emerald tablets. And I did a series on the emerald tablets of Thoth, which was all about how to develop oneself and not get caught up by the dark forces, not to be lied to, see through the lies, be aware of those that are not humans. He discusses that a lot, and how to enlighten yourself and enliven yourself. But I wanted to do some all and everything. And I'm going to go to a page towards the end of the book, 1169, where Gurdjieff is discussing subjective knowledge and objective knowledge. And he reminds us that it is chiefly for this reason that everything which has been newly learned settles in the presences of free brain beings who have only the reason of knowing and always remains only simply as information without any kind of cognizance by the whole of their being. And that's something that I noticed is happening a lot and has been obviously throughout humanity. But I've definitely noticed it more in the last few years. People are not thinking about what they're learning. I'm not talking about people that are trying to do this kind of work. I'm talking about everyday people, the Joe Blogs of this world. Few people think before they speak. Few people think about what they know. They think they know things, but normally they're just passing on facts that they've learned from the paper or the internet. We want to do deeper knowledge and learn deeper things and cognize, ponder on it so that it works within us so that we can get to a better, truer understanding of what it is we need to know to go forwards to become wise, learned beings. And Gurdjieff goes on in this part of the book, page 1169. And therefore, new data of every kind formed and fixed in this way for the free brain beings who have the reason of knowing, having respect of their use, no significance at all for the welfare of their own subsequent existence. Moreover, the duration of the decrystallization of this kind of fixed impressions depend on the quantity and the quality of the impulses engendered in the given being. And we're obviously trying to crystallize ourselves to a better form, to a better version of ourselves, to the higher self. And it takes effort. And I suppose the sheep of the world don't want to do that. They just want to carry on as they are because they don't want to put either the effort in or don't want to believe in that. But remember, it's a very rational society and world out there now. People are programmed to think that all this kind of stuff, this Gurdjieff work or Steiner or philosophy, is all woo woo. Because, well, part of me thinks that's the dark forces trying to stop people waking up. But also, it's just a simpler way of having control, isn't it? If you're not thinking for yourself, this is why, sadly, many countries and governments are trying to stop the arts and cutting it out of university curriculums and things like that, because the arts help us to think for ourselves. We, through doing some kind of art, whether it's reading, writing, producing art or whatever, philosophies, it helps you to look at other theories, other ideas, and then you can start working upon yourself rather than being told what to think and what to do. Don't want to be like that. Anyway, carrying on. I was doing decrystallization. As regards this latter fact, ensuing from the already degenerated functioning of the reason proper to the free brain beings, and which most of your contemporary favourites today already have, one also very rarely used saying of our respected teacher, Mullah Nasir-Din, is remembered in me by association and is expressed by the following words. As soon as anything is needed, it seems that it is filthy and eaten by mice. Kind of like what I was saying just now about how the rational world poo-poos our kind of work. They call it all woo-woo. They make it out to be dirty and eaten by mice so that people don't go to it because people think, oh, it's dirty and eaten by mice. And our peers are telling us that, so we shouldn't look into this kind of thing. We know that's just scandal and slander and scaremongering because they don't want people to use their proper reason. They want to keep people dumbed down. Gurdjieff goes on to say, although every kind of what your favourites call knowledge, which they have and which has been acquired in the common presences of beings in the said manner, is also subjective, yet it has absolutely nothing in common with what is called objective knowledge. Objective knowledge is what we're trying to attain to. Sorry, the table moves then. Objective knowledge. And I should just sort of remind people that Gurdjieff here is speaking through Beelzebub, who is talking to his grandson Hussein, and Hussein is very enamored with our planet Earth and enamored with us humans, and so that's why Beelzebub's calling them, your favourites, saying to Hussein, these are your favourites that we're talking about here. But Hussein's favourites, us humans, very few of us look for objective knowledge, or very few of people look for objective knowledge. The few of us that do look for objective knowledge, hopefully can come together, work together and help each other. I get much help from your comments, and many of you make me look at things in a way that maybe I didn't look at before. I know sometimes I spout on when I'm doing these videos because it's quite difficult to just be impromptu. It takes a lot of courage, but I enjoy doing them and it helps me understand where the Gurdjieff work's coming from. You making comments and replying back to all that kind of thing helps me see parts of me that I don't, parts of it I don't understand, or parts of it that I've perhaps misunderstood slightly, a bit big-headed there. I'm not an expert, and I am, like we all are, we're all Hussein, we're all trying to learn what life's all about and how to be fully developed people that can work with the harmonious running of the universe. So Beelzebub carries on talking to his grandson. Well then, my boy, in order that the mentioned Xenofukonanian friction should be obtained in beings, and that at the same time the crystallizations of the new perceptions should proceed for the reasoning of understanding, I, already knowing very well what are called the laws of the fixing and unfixing of ideas and localizations, the details of which laws, to mention it, by the way, I learned also, thanks to the free brain beings who have taken your fancy during my sojourn among them as professional hypnotists, had in view during my tales among many other necessary principles in respect of the current perception of new information, through guidance from without, always to keep also to the same inevitable rule, so that the gradualness of the enlarging of, as is said, the quintessence of the information should proceed in you with the entire absence of the being impulses of indignation, offence, vexation, and so forth. And we do let them kind of ways affect us because we're programmed to. We're taking new information and we put all this kind of vexing and indignation and an offence to it all because we start judging it through our programmed way of thinking. And as Beelzebub's saying there, we're trying to be deprogrammed so that we can reprogram ourselves in a better, more awakened state and in an awakened way, and use all our centers and our cognition and our cognience so that we can see the objective knowledge so that we can work upon ourselves and work with the universe. And he was talking here about of the fixing and unfixing of ideas in localizations. Well, that's all again part of the programming that we've been brought up with from our peers and our families and schooling and such like, that we're having to undo, which can be hard work. And I know some people say, I'm too old to do that now. You're never too old, because doing it is the beginning of making that process happen. And it's how much effort you put in will help it move along. It's not how old you are, it's how much effort you put in. Plus, I'm a big believer in recurrence or reincarnation, whichever suits your boat. But whichever it is, whatever we learn in this life, if we're coming back, we've got to bring as much of that objective knowledge with us. And I believe that once you've got that objective knowledge starting to ripen like a seed in you, you can carry that on through. I think all the stuff that's left over, you know, when you die and then go on to another life, I think it's all the objective stuff. I can't forget the word now. All the rubbishy stuff that, you know, doesn't help you develop. All the programming and the being stuck in this universe of not thinking for yourself, not being a soul developing person. That stuff I think gets all left behind. But I think your training, anything you pick up to help develop yourself, gets carried over. I also believe in karma, so I think that, you know, obviously bad karma will be repaid in the next life. But I also strongly believe that that only happens to people in the next life if you don't develop yourself. I think that if you are developing yourself, karma can happen to you in this life, and pretty quickly too. Karma seems to work quickly for those that look at esoteric ways and esoteric knowledge and do it, make effort and become a more developed person. And I think those that aren't interested in this at all, their karma could possibly come in the next life, because they've got nothing to take over into the next life, or if we relive it again in the recurrence. Whereas we can take over that esoteric knowledge that we've had. And I'm sure many of you feel that way. Like I've said before, I know from since I was a kid, or maybe I was just put into a family and with schools that made me wake up pretty quickly. I was very lucky to be able to see through a lot of the things when I was just a child. Okay, I had to hide it because people thought, you know, parents and schools, teachers would punish you for seeing through them, noticing the lies. They don't want to be told they're lying when we all know they are. But I think that's because I've lived this life before, and whatever I learned from before has come through and hopefully guided me to stay on the right path. I'm sure you've had many synchronicities that have kept you on a development path. I remember the dark forces try their best to pull us out of it. Was it Al Pacino says in The Godfather, they just drag me back in. Dark forces will do their best to drag you back in. And we don't want that. You know, this is why we have to put up protective guards and be aware. You know, when you start working on this kind of thing, you can see when they try and trap you back or trick you into thinking negatively, you know, or bring doubt into your mind. Because hopefully that esoteric working that's been happening into you, inside you, that knowledge that's turning into wisdom, can suddenly go, this is a little trick. They're trying to pull you back to the programmed eighth sphere world. and we're trying to escape that. You know, we all have doubts at times, which is why I suppose I do these shows as well. I want to encourage people to stay on the path, and myself sometimes. Although thankfully, I'm not. Let's hope I don't jinx it here. I've not had a wobble in my faith for quite a few years now. I know I'm on the right path. I know I'm doing the right thing. I know that the esoteric path is the way for me, and may it continue so. And for you guys too. Thank you for listening, watching. Love off. Love your God. Find your God. That's one of the most important things as well. Find a basis in what you believe in, whether it's a God, gods, whatever. You've got to have a basis. All these people that are coming to me with all these different ideas. Well, it could be this, it could be that. Well, what do you think? Not necessarily. Uh, Actually, maybe I'm being a hypocrite here. We still got to doubt everything in a way of what's being thrown at us. It's very hard to verify whether we've been created by the Anunnaki, for example, or that grey aliens are out there flying around in UFOs, or that there's fairies and pixies in the trees, or that there's people living in the inner world inside our planet. Very difficult to verify that kind of thing unless we can become proper crystallized people and attain them higher levels of wisdom. And we're just beginning it. I suppose what I'm saying here is question everything. Follow your conscience, follow your heart. Definitely follow your conscience. But find God, nothing else matters. I'm going to stop babbling on.